Good evening and a Merry Christmas to you all. I am sitting in today as Chris is attending the carol service with the players. So without further ado, let's bring Vic on because we've got a busy night. Good evening, Vic. How are you?
I'm all right. Merry Christmas, one and all. And I've got some SAS travel news to give you as well. So I'll rattle through that quickly. No more bookings available for Wimbledon, Bromley and Notts County. All sold out SAS travel at the moment. Now, if you're going on Boxing Day, which is Thursday, I know it'll be all over the place this week. You won't know what minute it is, let alone day. They're leaving West Swindon at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning and 10:30 for the county ground on Boxing Day. Now, if you're going to Bromley, 7 o'clock from West Swindon, 7:30 from the county ground. If you live outside the postcode, that's about 3:30 in the morning. And then I think it's that's a 12:30 kickoff course at Bromley, and it's a similar sort of time for Notts County, but we'll notify you of the final timings next week for that one. So 2 12:30 kickoffs in a row away. Of course, we've got Colchester at home on New Year's Day in between. So busy old time.
And we've been busy as well, haven't we, Vic? There's been quite a lot going on over the weekend.
Yeah, very busy indeed. And thank you very much indeed for everybody who came to the senior party on, when was it? Was it Thursday? Fabulously attended. And the players all came to that. And then, of course, the junior Reds on Friday night, which is always a brilliant, brilliant time. So the players all came to that as well. And then, of course, there was a little matter of the football as well on Saturday. So a busy 3 or 4 days, no doubt about that.
Fantastic. So without further ado, let's bring on our illustrious guest. Good evening, Ray. Good evening, Dan. Good evening, Darren. And good evening, Becky. We're just waiting for Mr. Hawes. He's just messaging me now, so I'll leave you all to it.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll wait to see Mr. Hawes when he appears. Ray is talking to us from his brand new executive box in the Don Rogers stand, where you can see out onto the pitch. It's a magnificent view. Well done. What's it like in one of those boxes, Ray? Is it nice?
Yeah, I'm just trying it out for the development purposes, Vic. It's all right. Yeah. No, this is down to John. He did accuse me of looking like I was in a prison cell last time out, so I made a bit of an effort. It's actually the view from my seat.
Well, it's a very nice picture, John. If you're listening, John Stevens in Far North. Let us know what you think of the backgrounds. Dan is obviously paying tribute to the World Darts Championship, which is currently going on at Ali Pali. Good evening to you.
Hello everyone. Merry Christmas all.
Merry Christmas to you. I know you've had a busy few days. We'll get onto that in a minute. Darren, a 2010 shirt, I do believe, behind you. And is that Simon Ferry as well in the background? I can see. Yeah. So well done. You've done a good job there. Becky, what happened?
I let the side down. I am sorry. I have no comment.
Well, a very nice painted door. The decoration looks good.
Yeah, my husband will be thrilled.
Yeah. We'll pass on congratulations. Right, let's start off, Dan, with the weekend, because whatever people's thoughts about the protest, I would imagine you'd be very pleased with the way it went.
Absolutely, thank you, Vic. I was just jotting down a few thoughts as we were getting ready for this, and I guess the main thing for me was just how positive and how happy and how much energy there was at the march and in Statue Park, and then we managed to take that into the ground too. I was quite worried in the morning when I woke up and saw the terrible weather, gusty winds and sort of really fine rain that gets you really wet. But the turnout was magnificent, probably beyond what we realistically hoped for. So thank you very much to everyone that came out and backed what we did on the day. It was great to see young and old, men and women, generations of the same family too. We met granddads, sons and their daughters, and people came from far afield. Matt Anderson, a special shout out for him. He came from Singapore. We had Connor there from Germany, and many others with a long journey too. So it was also really good to use Statue Park for what it was made for, as a sort of meeting place and a place for events. So I think probably if we could just work on the gravel flooring, because it did get quite soggy But no, really, really pleased. Everything went off peacefully and non-obstructively, which is two of the big things we tried to hammer home ahead of the event. We also asked people to take that energy and passion into the ground and get behind the team. And really pleased to see another 3-1 home win. That's 2 orange home wins I'm going to claim now. And it would be remiss of me not to say, how proud I am and how thankful I am to Terry Pearce and to Rich Pullen, my co-founders. They put in a big body of work over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And to our army of volunteers, magnificent. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done it without you. We had people marshalling. We had people giving away free hats. We didn't quite get one to Ian Holloway. But the police were a dream. They supported the event really well. The club staff who helped run that match day operation were really delightful to deal with. We had members of the Trust STFC board with us, which is fantastic. Thank you to Neil and Andy. And then just final thing from me, and I'll shut up. We had a good range of local, regional, national media. We had a piece in the Eye newspaper today. Marshall, just 1 minute, mate. As well as a couple of YouTubers. I look forward to seeing their footage as well. So just about as good a start as we could have hoped for is my very long way of saying that. Thank you all. Okay, well, I'll let you, maybe we'll catch you about what your next plans are towards the end. But yeah, that'd be good. Thank you. This is what George Reader sent. And I think it's fair to say, Dan, and you would agree with me, that the whole point is you have no problem with people not wanting to protest. I mean, it's as simple as absolutely, that. Yeah. If you want to protest, that's fine. But if you don't, that's fine too. Yeah, and you have to acknowledge there is a spread, right? So what we're trying to do at the Spirit of 69 is give an avenue and a channel and a really visible way of people showing their dissatisfaction with how Clem Morfuni is running Swindon Town Football Club. I sit in that camp, obviously. And there's other people who are not so comfortable protesting or marching, but sticking an orange hat on your head is a really easy way of saying, "Hey, I want change." And for other people, they have their own minds, and if they don't want to protest, if they're happy with the reign of Clem Morfuni, then respectfully, I disagree with them, but that's up to them. If I ask you this question though, because this is at the nub of it, right? So the aim is to get Clem Morfuni to put the club up for sale. Mm-hmm. What realistically do you expect to happen? Do you expect somebody to come in to make an offer? Do you know of an offer? And if nothing happens, what do we do then? Okay, let's try and take them in order. So, do we expect people to come in with an offer? We're not getting involved on that side of things in terms of looking for buyers or trying to be in that network. That's not our skill set. What we have is a very active supporters trust. They're very good at operating in those kind of networks. And what we hear, and with some confidence, there are parties out there interested in buying Swindon Town Football Club. And so actually, one thing we heard last week is actually Clem Morfuni's valuation of Swindon Town Football Club is prohibitive. And again, that's his prerogative. He owns the football club. 1 moment, mate. Just give me 5 minutes. Deal with that in a second. Yeah. Okay. To the second part. Sorry, the second part of the question, Vic. Hang on, I've forgotten what the second part is now. The first part is, what is the object? Let's get to the nub of it then. Yeah. If nobody comes forward with an offer, what happens then? Okay, yeah. So, this group is very much about putting pressure on Clem Morfuni to actively list the football club for sale so that he can seek a party or parties who can actually run this club competently and have the means to take this club forward and make us all proud again as a fan base. So, but where do we go if that doesn't happen? I mean, that's the point, isn't it? What is your end game if Clem Morfuni doesn't put this up for sale? He digs his heels in and said, "I'm not going to sell." What happens? Well, that's a very realistic outcome. At the Spirit of 69, we keep banging the drum. We get louder. We keep trying to influence and inform people in the fan base to sort of join our movement. And we've said a lot of times, this could be a long road. But hey, I've got time. Terry and Rich got time, and the 500 people who came out and joined us on the march, I've got time, and the people who wore hats in the ground, I've got time. This is our club. We will win.
Okay, just let me send you this question. This is from George Reed. You may know did Bring the Noise fanzine back in the day.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Could I ask a question of Mr. Hunt? So there you are. This evening, I'll have to do it here as I don't do all that Facebook gubbings, etc. Did you ask him under what circumstances would the Spirit of 69 be comfortable meeting with the club, should the club be willing to do so? Now, I'm just going to come clean here. I am the third person, as you're well aware, who tried to get that debate going with you and the club and the trust and a well-respected journalist, Sam Woolshead, as well. You declined to do it, so I'm open. I'm putting the cards on the table. So what would be the circumstances that you would meet with the club?
Well, we would consider meeting with the club if we were invited to meet with the club. We've not had that invite from Clem Morfuni or Anthony Hall yet. We appreciated your offer, Vic, and we declined for the reasons we laid out to you in the message and in our statement afterwards. So yeah, if Clem wants to talk to the fan base, he should come out and talk to the fan base and take unvetted questions and listen to people's anger and frustrations firsthand.
All right. Well, I'll let you go off and deal with the young one because obviously that's the most.
I will thing. Just check.
And, that's the most important thing.
I'll pop it on mute for a second.
And I promise you, we will get onto the football very shortly. Darren, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Vic. Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas to you too. We will talk about the football in a moment, but John has replied. I will find that in a minute. Where is it? He has actually sent me a message, John Stevens. So I will get to that, and I'll be able to tell you what he's had to say. Let's talk about Saturday then. Swindon Town 3, Grimsby Town 1. Your thoughts on that game, Darren?
Well, I think we all came away relieved as much as anything else. So I think it was a desperate win that was required. I thought the team played really well, actually. I thought they played with energy, played together. I thought there was lots of really good endeavour and we could have scored a lot more goals. So really pleasing in many ways. I mean, for me, a really, really important 3 points over this Christmas period. So really good performance for me, I think.
Yeah, got off to a great start, didn't it, Beck? I mean, you can't get off to a better start than scoring in the first few minutes. Yeah. Then they went to build on it. They could have had another one hit the woodwork. So it was a really good start.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest game of football, but a win's a win. And at the moment, I think if we can take points anywhere, it doesn't really matter. It did start really well. A goal inside the first 10 minutes is always great. So within the first 5 is even better. It's just nice to see that the players seem to be sort of all together and behind Holloway at the moment. I don't know if there is maybe a little bit more to it. Maybe, they're all kind of rallying together because I'm sure most of them are aware of Spirit of 69 and things like that going on. Maybe they're looking to show some sort of united front. I don't know. But yeah, it's nice to finally have some positivity. It's nice to have my little boy actually want to go to a game. It's really disheartening when he doesn't want to go. Just because, and everybody knows you get beaten, you take a bad day at the office, but it is just a bit relentless at the moment. So yeah, 3 points, brilliant. Let's go for Boxing Day. Yeah,
absolutely. Mr. Hawes, a very good evening to you. Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us.
Apologies, I'm late.
That's all right. I'll make a note of it. I have the verdicts, by the way, on the background, so stand by. Ray, glad you got parole and are quickly on your feet. Great effort. Well done. So that's all right with you. Daniel, too busy to spend 10 bob on a bit of tinsel?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, you should see the rest of the house. It's littered with the stuff.
Well, there you go. Darren, I do like a busy room, so you're okay. Becky, I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, he says. There you go.
I hate to disappoint anybody.
No, well, as I said, it's well decorated. And Andrew, busy erecting the tree or sanding the shelf, he says. You obviously hadn't appeared at that particular point, but is that a keyboard in the background?
Maybe, yes.
Yes, okay. Well, we'll let you have that one then. A good holiday all, he says. So there you are. The verdicts on the backgrounds. Right, Mr. Halls. Exciting start to the game on Saturday.
Yes, very good, very good. Lots of energy in the team. I felt there's a bit more energy in the ground, and I'm not sure that's unanimously felt, it seems, by everyone. But that kind of goal, and certainly the kind of pressing of the first 10 or 15 minutes or so, it seemed to kind of rattle Grimsby. That seemed to kind of upset them. Score the goal, hit the crossbar, and use the conditions more smartly than Grimsby. So a kind of efficient performance, really. Not so much of the ball, but lots of chances and goals. Goals aplenty, and lots of XG to satisfy the nerds among us. So yeah, good all round, and a good kind of follow up in the home sense, at least, to what we saw against Fleetwood.
Yeah, Ray, this is the ridiculous statistic, right? In the early part of the season, we had like 96% possession and did nothing with it. On Saturday, 36.4% possession to Grimsby's 63.6. What does that tell us?
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw that, because I didn't actually think Grimsby had that much of the game. I felt we were. I know we got the start we wanted, but I felt we were relatively comfortable for them during that game. So I was quite surprised by the stats, but they don't mean a lot, do they? If you look at where we were earlier part of the season, how many, from an XG point of view, how many chances were we actually creating? Next to nothing. And we had loads of the ball, but we do look like, I'm happier with us being a little bit more direct initially, getting it away. I think it will cut out mistakes. And yes, we can play in their half a bit more. So I'm really not worried by the possession stats. 3-1's the main stat. And add to that, we hit the woodwork twice, missed a penalty, and we look like the side in the ascendancy. So I don't think possession always counts for a lot. It's about where you have your possession, isn't it?
It's the only stat that matters is this one. Swindon Town 3, Grimsby Town 1. Ollie Clark on 3 minutes. Kibongo Shimanga on 41 and 61. Clark with an assist on 61. But I think you could also give Shimanga an assist for the first one too. Their goal coming from a penalty. Danny Rose on 72 minutes. I mean, the thing is with that, Dan, we've missed a penalty. Our penalty taking is shocking at the minute, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest. We always moan about England's penalty taking, but boy, oh boy. I don't know about you, but I thought it could have been 5 or 6. I mean, we'd had so much of the chances on Saturday.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see. I think Ian Holloway takes some credit in the last, certainly the last 3 wins in the last 4, where the playing style has been simplified. And that was the kind of approach I was expecting him to take from day one, as soon as he came in, is actually ask your defenders to defend, try and turn teams and play in other teams' halves. And so, yeah, hopefully we're now starting to see this bear a bit of fruit. I think Grimsby were definitely their own worst enemies in the first half. Into the wind, a couple of occasions overplaying, not getting the ball away. And that kind of led to both Swindon goals in the first half, happily. So, yeah, it's nice to see a more simple, more cohesive Swindon Town. I'm also pleased for Delaney, Hall and Wright. I think the last time they started together at the back was Colchester away, and we know how that first half went. So good for them three to get a solid 90 minutes under their belt. I think arguably Swindon deserved the clean sheet, and Barden too. But there we go. I think from going 3-1, score going back to 3-1, I think Swindon closed the game out really well, and there were very, very few scares. So yeah, that learning how to win and having the sort of seeing that fragile confidence that we've seen earlier in the season build to something a bit stronger. That's hopefully some good signs over the Christmas period to come.
Yeah, I think when the 6 minutes went up of extra time, we all thought, oh, not 6 minutes. But they did manage the game very well.
Yeah,
they did. This is from Craig. I can't make the live stream tonight. It's an East of Scotland League Division 3 game in Edinburgh. Of course he is. But can I make a modest plea for our supporters to show a little more mutual respect and patience than I saw in person on Saturday and online subsequently? Most importantly, let's remember that none of us want to see the club fail. And I think, Craig, that is spoken for many of us. There's no point in Swindon Town fans falling out. There's only one thing we want, and you agree with this, Dan, and that's to see Swindon Town succeed. We don't want anything else. We don't want to have fights with each other. But that's the whole point, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And happily, I think from the weekend anyway, I think the one or two little isolated moments that I've heard about on the grapevine, but generally things went off without a hitch. And certainly the feedback from the police and the stewarding people was things went off well. So yeah, I mean, mutual respect, everyone. Treat people how you wish to be treated. Respect people's right to protest peacefully. And online, which is a democratic right, of course.
Just remember, it's the time of peace and goodwill. So just try that a little bit. You might benefit from it. Darren, let's talk about Shimonga, Darren, because I think most people 3 or 4 weeks ago might have thought, send him back to Peterborough. He's not doing anything. But do you know what? On Saturday, he looked a player, didn't he?
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I've been in the camp where I've thought he's not really got the ability or the consistency to play at the level, but I thought he was a threat. He used his body quite well, and he can roll a player. That's what he's got, that ability to roll a defender, and he's got that natural instinct inside the box. But we saw him hit the post from outside the box as well, which was another threat on Saturday. So he looks as if he's finding his feet, looks strong, pacey. There's a bit of Dave Bamber about him, and you're never quite sure where the ball's going to bounce off him, I think. But he seems to react quite well to it as well.
Yeah, but he took his goals well, didn't he? And also, Becky, Ollie Clark. Now, let's discuss him. He looked the player we all wanted on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he looked great.
Yeah, he's one of these players you don't necessarily notice, but he does the work, doesn't he? Just gets around, does his business quietly, and runs the game.
Yeah, and I think that's quite a lot of it as well. Sometimes they do just want to be, in the mix of it all. I get the impression that a lot of them are sort of fighting for their place as well. And for somebody like Clark, he probably does feel that he has a little bit more to prove. And I think Saturday he definitely did show that. Yeah,
and what about Delaney, Hall and Wright? I mean, Delaney's had such a delayed start to his season, really. Hall, many people have sort of looked at, but that back three, I thought they looked really solid on Saturday.
They did. Everybody knows I'm a Minturn fan, so for me, I would always say that I think we do better when Minton's in the team. But yeah, I've got to give them their due on Saturday. They did really well. They did look really, really strong, and yeah, they've obviously earned the shirt.
Andrew, I think it's fair to say that Grimsby came here with a great defensive record. They were in good form, but we didn't allow them to play, really.
No, I think that's the big thing. So I think you'd give Clark, for example, maximum ferreting marks, if you like. You think about the third goal, where Swindon lose it, and then Billy Kirkman runs back and makes the tackle and retrieves it, and it all comes from that. You're right about not letting them settle. I listened to with a bit of interest to what the I nearly said crew manager, Grimsby manager David Artell said then, and he was really kind of quite grumpy. It's like we didn't run around enough. So it sometimes, I think at this level, when I've sort of chatted to Dave Hockaday about it, or whatever, sometimes it really is just about running that bit harder, running that bit further than your opponent. That gives you a great chance. That absolutely felt like what Swindon did, and I think if you sort of look at Grimsby from what you saw in their away record, I think they're quite good at when they get the first goal. I suspect kind of trying to hold on to possession and so on and so forth. But they were behind, they were under pressure, and we didn't really allow them to do that.
And the midfield, Ray, I thought was very impressive. Clark, Kilkenny, and Cottrell, who's had his critics, that was his best game for Swindon. I think that midfield three looked really good.
Yeah, they do. And Kilkenny's got a load of energy as well, hasn't he? And he gets about, and he does actually get a tackle in as well. He nips in and nicks the ball. And as you say, I think Cottrell, that was one of his better games. Definitely a footballer in there. I think I'd like to see him just develop a bit more of the Kilkenny instincts, really, in terms of nipping in and getting a ball. He covers ground, but he doesn't threaten to do that too often. But he's definitely a decent footballer. So hopefully, these games are helping him. And if he stays on in January, he'll only get better.
Yeah, you see, that's the point, isn't it, Dan? Here we are, January. We don't know what's going to happen. But traditionally for Swindon, players have gone back because they've done well. So Holloway has a decision to make here with players who are suddenly sort of looking as though they might be in a bit of form.
Yeah, well, I think the one who doesn't get a lot of praise is Dan Barden between the sticks, who, if you look at his record as a goalkeeper this year, I think it's 12 starts and he's conceded 14 goals, which I think by comparison to Bycroft, I think it's something like 16 starts and 32 conceded. So I know that's not the only metric for a goalkeeper. It's, a lot of the time it's about what's in front of them, but I don't think it's a coincidence now. After 12 games, Barden is looking secure, and we normally only let him one goal when he plays. So it certainly helps when you've got goals at the top end of the pitch. I'd expect Freckleton to return to Sheffield United. I think he's injured at the minute anyway as well. But, you know, Chimanga on Saturday and hopefully over the next 3 or 4 games can make a really strong case for us to be sat here saying, oh, we've got to keep him. Because up until Saturday, he'd had 3 goals. I think only 1 in the league. So, you know, what we saw on Saturday with those 2 very, decisive finishes. I love it when a striker absolutely wallops it. Call me old school. That's what we want to see more of. Because go back 3 or 4 weeks, I swear every time I saw Chimanga touch the ball, he hit the deck. Almost to the point where it's becoming like a running joke. And then he almost started living up to that parody. And who'd be the other one in the squad? That'd be Cottrell, wouldn't it? Yeah. I think the performance from Cottrell and Kilkenny on Saturday was part of the reason why Grimsby didn't have that cutting edge, didn't cut through us. I thought they were both excellent. We've already mentioned Ollie Clark, who would probably be man of the match over the 90. He's a really big player for us. We just got to wrap him up in cotton wool and make sure he can play every Saturday. I suspect that the midweekers might be a bit of a stretch, given his injury record so far. But yeah, I would hazard Barden, Cottrell and Chimanga to stay, Freckleton to leave.
Yeah, I think that's a decent shout. We'll see, of course, in January once that all starts. Hi, Anthony. What a difference a week makes. After an appalling performance of Bradford, we set the benchmark against a top 6 club. If we play like we did on Saturday, we'll pick up the points we need. Kevin says fast start helped. Hi, Rob. There was a marked improvement in the performance on Saturday. Great to see it may continue. However, that and the protests are separate and removed. We're all Town fans. Here. Hi, Ryan. The players look fitter and... Oops, it just jumped up at that very moment. The players look fitter and Grimsby didn't look like they like the high pressure closing down. And Ryan, again, Holloway has said football's changed a lot, but it hasn't changed in the fact you need to score more than the other team. And that's absolutely right. I was going to... Shots on target 4 each. And, of course, shots... Swindon 17... Grimsby 11, Darren, bearing in mind that the Saturday before we had none on target and basically none. So that's quite a difference.
Yeah, I mean, a huge difference. And I thought the midfield 3, what they do really well is pivot around one another. So you're never quite sure who's going to break forward. The first goal, Clark has got a heart of a lion. He breaks past 3 Grimsby players to get on the end of that ball. And that was a difference for me. You were seeing people pivoting out of midfield, supporting the front 2, who have been a bit lost at times and separated. So I thought that made a big difference. And with Smith, I thought Smith was still dangerous. Had the shot against the bar. So we were always looking as if we were a threat up front. I thought some of the balls into the box were a lot better. We clearly dealt with the conditions really well. But there was always a threat coming in from out wide. So we looked really up for it. I thought so whilst we didn't get the shots on target necessarily, they weren't far off. They were largely goal bound. As we say, hit the bar, hit the post. Another one sort of went wide, not by much. So I thought we looked really good. We looked eager and we were snappy. That was the other bit I thought that was different. We were snappy around the box and willing to have a go. So much improved performance, and let's hope we carry it on over the Christmas period.
Yeah, we'll get to the Christmas period in a minute because it's going to be very busy. Most of our wins, including cups, have been less possession. Says Sean. Who would the panel choose for the next penalty, Becky? Because Goodness me. We need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net for the penalty kick, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, I'd be just as tempted to tell Bycroft to come out and take it. I think it's just something that we don't yet have that target person that we can pick. But I'm sure it's something that Holloway will now work on with them. Obviously, you'd like to think that he's seen a bit of a gap from Saturday, unless it was somebody like Shamanga, wants to have a go. He seemed to have a decent strike. I mean, like I said, anybody at this moment in time, I don't think we can get much worse than Saturday's efforts. But yeah. Let anyone have a go. Let Holloway have a go at this rate. Why not?
Well, it was Shamanga, I think, who told Andrew afterwards that he's basically taking the next one. So there we go then. I mean, that penalty, if the town end wasn't there, it probably would have been in town centre by now, wouldn't it?
Probably still be going.
It was pretty dreadful. I mean, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I watched that penalty. I was saying before we started, do we celebrate getting a penalty anymore? I mean, the point is, when we get a penalty, we all go yes. I mean, do we not bother? Just wait and see what happens.
I'm always slightly cautious about celebrating before penalties, but just because I'm clearly more pessimistic than 79% of the time, or whatever it is you're meant to score them. But it is. I do wonder if it is becoming a bit of a psychological thing now, especially when it's like getting passed around for different people to try. I think Wright done okay with them at Crawley, and you can sort of see him going through all like the process, put it down, breathe in, think where it's going to go, step up, and
he scored at Accrington, didn't he? Was the only one?
Yeah. So that's the only penalty all season, isn't it? Out of, I think it's 7. So we might as well give Shamanga a go, or perhaps Cox might like them. You think about left backs and full backs taking penalty, but I think Lucky Shamanga is the next in line.
Well, I'll nip down from the stand if they want. I'll have a go. I don't mind. Perhaps they could do that as a raffle. You pick the ticket out, you come down and take the penalty. Who knows? The new formation helps playing 2 up front. Supporting each other was excellent. That's from Gary. It's ridiculous. Everyone has their own option. No need for abuse, as I've seen on social. Quite right, Sean. A couple of our loan players are picking up now, and with January around the corner, typical. Delaney starting to show what Newport were going mad about when they lost him now. And key was they actually stayed on his feet on Saturday. That's Shamanga. Ben says the only negative, and it's a small one, we need to work on the penalties. And I think that's obvious to everybody. The bottom of the league then, let's have a look. 20th, Harrogate. They've got 21 points in 21 games, a goal difference of -15. Swindon in 21st, which feels like nosebleed territory at the minute, doesn't it? 19 points from 21 games, -9 goal difference. Accrington in 22nd, 19 points from 20 games, -10 goal difference. And then the bottom 2, Carlisle, 15 points from 20 games, -17. And in 24th place, Morecambe really are looking in a terrible position. 14 points from 21 games, -19 goal difference, Ray. That's the bottom of the table. We don't want to be looking at that, but we are. But Morecambe, I don't know. They're a strange one, aren't they? They came and won. We've lost to Carlisle. We've lost to those teams around us, and that's really what's caused us the problems in a way.
Yeah, it is, and the margins are so fine, aren't they? You know that one result. You look back to the Morecambe result, that felt pretty devastating at the time, and then you got a few, a little while to Colchester. I honestly wondered after Colchester whether we were getting off the bottom, and then within the space of a couple of games, suddenly seeing maybe a little bit more momentum. So I wouldn't write Morecambe off yet. They obviously went on a bit of a run leading up to playing us, didn't they? And I think that's the same for all of the lower sides. I think Carlisle potentially got a little bit of money behind them. So January will probably change their setup a little bit. So I think we can count on it changing a little bit yet. So it really is about us picking up enough points to pull away, really. And it's a pity we can't bake in the cup results as well, because really, if we had those as league results, then we'd be looking at the Holloway start as pretty good, really. We it has been, and I probably should mention, in terms of Holloway, for me, he's probably what we need at the moment. His filter lets him down occasionally, and he says things that probably don't help his cause. But I think the passion that he's got is a good thing. He's obviously got the guys playing for him. Beck mentioned earlier. I think that's obvious. If you look at the determination they came out with, on Saturday. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And ultimately, he's got 1,000 games under his belt as a manager, loads as a player. You don't get that without having a little bit about you. So I think for us that works. Is he the perfect manager? With the position that we're in, same as players, we haven't got any perfect players, have we? And we won't do. With the position we're in, it's the same with the manager. So when you factor that in, I'm pretty relaxed about having Holloway at the moment, I've got to say, and looks like he is starting to make a difference. So from my point of view, brilliant achievement this 1,000 games as well.
Carlisle against Morecambe on Boxing Day. Any predictions? That's from Paul. Wow, that's a cracker. Let's get along to that one. Yeah. Steve says, get Buzzer to show them how to take a penalty. Summerby, of course, Nicky Summerby. Let's have a look. A few more to come, and I'll get to them all in a minute. Clark goal reminded me of a Jack Payne goal. Dan. Sorry, I'm not used to calling you Daniel. I'll call you Dan. That's a very good comparison, isn't it? Jack Payne used to score goals like that. Still does, in fact.
Well, yeah, they're very, very different players, Jack Payne and Ollie Clark. But if you look at the goal, the thing that Ollie Clark did well was he took a gamble.
Yeah,
he got his head down, sprinted forward in case there was the ball broke, and he was there to slot it in. And actually, to what others have said about Grimsby not running around, Clark outpaced a couple of Grimsby players there to get to that ball. So. No, I mean, if he could add a little goal-scoring streak to his game, that'd be really helpful in a struggling side. So I think he had one disallowed, didn't he? Harry Smith was offside on the line against Colchester in the FA Cup, was it? So yeah, I mean, he is showing that desire to get into the box and try and get on the end of a few things. So yeah, more of the same, please, Ollie. And I would love Jack Payne back, by the way.
Yeah, wouldn't we all?
We get to see him again on New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, course, yeah. I mean, if he plays like he did against us at Colchester, we wouldn't want that, would we? It was interesting because we were saying on the way there that in the cup tie, didn't really show. So we'd probably have a good game that night at Colchester.
Well, he hit the crossbar in the FA Cup.
Yeah, but we'll forget that. But he didn't really show the Jack Payne that we're all used to. But he did at Colchester that night. There's no question about that. Ripped us to bits. Hi, Richard. On the few occasions we've done well in recent months, the manager has often made wholesale changes the following game and the momentum's been lost. Saturday was a step forward. Hope Ian Holloway bottles all the improvements and builds from this over Christmas/New Year. The thing is, Darren, of course, you got 4 games in a very short space of time, haven't you? And that is, he's got to somehow shepherd them through that period.
Yeah, it's an intense period. The pitches are heavy. I mean, the pitches are great compared to what they used to be, but they're still heavy. And the temperature doesn't help. Your recovery time's difficult. So I think he's protecting players, and I think he needs to. When you look at those 4 games, they come close. They're against tough teams. Most of them have only lost 5 games. Wimbledon have lost 7. Crewe have lost only 3. So these are tough games coming up. And what I like about Holloway, he's not a cold and timid soul. He goes for it. And I think that's what we need right at the moment. We don't want people, in my view, and all views count, of course, but from my perspective, we can't afford to be timid. We've got to play to our strengths and really go for it. And I think he's got that. He's brave, he's bold, and I think he's getting that confidence into the players. I think some of the things he said about Harry Smith and changing the psychology and the mindset's all important. But I think protecting Ollie Clark in particular, I just think he makes such a difference to the side. There's been a lack of leadership over the last couple of seasons, and I think Clark is a leader. We're seeing Harry Smith more as a leader, and certainly Delaney and Will Wright at the back. You get that spine right, and we won't go far wrong.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants his senior players to do, isn't it? And I would say all the players were at the senior lunch on Thursday. All the players were at the Junior Reds party on Friday. Ian Holloway was at both occasions and stuck around on both. So, he's trying to get them all involved in the football club. And that's not always been the case in the past. It'd be interesting to see how many players have gone to the carol service tonight, because I think last year 2 went. And they were...
I'm pretty sure it'll be more from what he was saying today.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it'll be more, because there were 2. And I think they were from the academy last season. So, I'm pretty sure most of them will be there tonight. Let's have a look. He needs to understand the fans have a right to voice their concerns. He's 6 weeks and 2 league wins into this club. Will be here long after he's gone. I'll ask Andrew about that interview in a minute and what he said. Becky, the substitutions have also been mentioned here. I thought Holloway's substitutions was excellent, especially with Cox being on a yellow card. And Longello came on for Hall on 89. Kirkham, who's really been a revelation, he came on for Cox on 54. Offerborn 83 for Clark, and Glatzel for Smith on 83. He does seem to know how to use substitutes.
Yeah, I think he's obviously now just getting used to who can do what, who can last a little bit longer than others. And actually, yeah, I do think he has made some decent changes when he does. As you know, as it's already been said, we've got a really tough couple of days coming up. I always think Boxing Day is just one of those games that, regardless of who you've got, you can never call it. So actually, yeah, it's great to see, different players getting sort of 15, 20 minutes here and there. If he has to rotate them across the 4 games, then so be it. At least then we're not thinking we've got somebody that hasn't played more than 20 minutes in the last, sort of 6 or 8 games. It's nice to see. Nice to see that there is some options as well, and that we're not always just relying on the same, and also keeping the same people on the bench all the time as well.
Sure. Andrew, Mr. Horse, that interview then afterwards, listen to it, and it did cause a lot of concern for people. And this has also been brought up by Steve. Has anyone forgotten how bad Holloway set Swindon up against Bradford and who bust up with the fans, which many people might have sort of thought, right, okay, you've had your thing with a fan, leave it there, move on. But he brought it up on Saturday. And as you know, that's caused a bit of consternation amongst the supporters. Does he get any advice about what he says, or do you think he just comes off the top of his head?
From what I can gather, I think the broad strategy was not to really kind of speak about the protest specifically, other than put out the statement which we saw from Anthony Hall. But but sometimes things will get to him and they have to come out. Without wishing to, as I sometimes feel I end up being here some sort of manager whisperer and kind of sort of trying to interpret the psychology of people. I think with Ian Holloway and protest, there are previous experiences at Grimsby and at Blackpool which make it, I think, a bit of a sort of trigger point for him. So if you kind of watch the videos, one of his many sort of physical gestures is he'll kind of do this arm gesture, and I think he's worried about anything that will damage the kind of unity that he feels he's trying to build, and that he thinks he needs to see to try and sort of create that mood of everyone pushing in the same direction. I would say my personal experience to counter that is I didn't really feel the protest had any impact on the atmosphere, but I think those sort of Blackpool and Grimsby experiences where I don't think he was necessarily sort of unanimously supportive of the owners either, even though they were the sort of victims. But it's something that sort of penetrates that kind of all pushing on in the same direction that worries him. And I think I said this, but I think if he perceives anything that is sort of challenging or interfering to that, to try to get everyone together in that direction, then he's going to talk about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. The Bradford incident, of course, if it had been 0-0, we'd have all gone away quite happy with a point at Bradford. I mean, even though it was a very long day,
yeah,
you got on the bus thinking 0-0. Yeah, I'd take a point. That would have been quite.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know. I didn't get the impression that many people, as a rule, were that angry about the Brad performance in some ways, because neither side. No, it would have
been 0-0. That would have been the result. Yeah,
a game that was nothing if not a game that thoroughly deserved to be 0-0. And if you're kind of looking to, start by broadly being more conservative, knocking it clear rather than trying to play out from the back, then that was some sort of step towards that. But there's I can't really explain it, but there's something that's clearly wound him up a little bit about criticism after that game, and he
hopefully
is who
we
he
can move on.
is. Who he is. He's
Yeah.
a man of emotions. So
Hopefully we can move on from that, and it won't come up again, because I think the more it gets brought up, the worse that situation is. But I think that Bradford game was a game in which neither side deserved nil. I think that's
well, I should say it. It's not us repeatedly talking about the Bradford game.
Yeah,
so it's something he's coming back to. So
it is. Yeah, fair play. Right, let's move on to the games. Oh, hang on, I've got more comments coming in. How much truth about Will Wright going to Milton Keynes Dons? Asked Andy. Do we know anything about Andrew?
I don't know anything definite. Other than I know the rumor exists, but I don't personally have any grounds to back it up. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen. Obviously, it just means that I don't know it's gonna happen if it is. But I haven't heard anything to suggest it will.
Will Wright's former Crawley manager Scott Lindsay, of course, at Milton Keynes, so that's the connection. Right, let's get on to the holiday period. We'll talk about Bromley in a minute, which isn't the first competitive fixture against Bromley, which to talk about. Wimbledon away then, Ray. We've been there a few times in the last few years, a new stadium. About 3 or 4 years ago, it was a new ground for all of us, but not now. We're getting sort of used to it. What do you think about the Wimbledon game, first of all?
Yeah, tough one. I think they're quite a physical side, aren't they? Quite a good League Two side. So I think physically it'd be quite difficult. You'd like to think with the way we're playing now, we won't wilt like was it 4-0 now and Michael Flynn. But you'd like to think that we'll be a bit more competitive than that. And certainly we'll if we put the workmanlike performance in that we did at the weekend, we'll run them close. I think it's not going to be an easy one. But I think Beck said as well on Boxing Day, you do tend to see some kind of different results on Boxing Day, like first day of the season, really. But so I expect it to be difficult. Be happy if we got a point. Delighted if we got 3.
Yeah, we won 5-2 under Jody Morris. Remember him at Wimbledon? Of course, that was quite an afternoon. A bit like Saturday when Harry Smith sort of gave the ball away at the penalty. Charlie Austin gave the ball, if I remember rightly, to
Luke Jeffka.
And it just gave the ball away on the penalty. And I don't understand that, Dan. I mean, if you're a striker, you want to score, don't you? That's the bit I don't get. But hey, I'm not.
Yeah, call me old school. I like centre forwards to take penalties. It's their job to score goals. And if it is Chimanga next, then I think Swindon just need a penalty taker with a bit of coolness. I wouldn't mind a little stoppy start run up, like some of the Accrington lads did in the penalty shootout. Which, I think every Swindon penalty taker I've seen this year has just run up and levered it. It is an art, it is a skill, and it is a lot between the ears rather than what you can do with your feet. So hopefully Chimanga scores the next one, and we found our penalty taker free till May.
Yeah, let's hope so. Anyway, Wimbledon, Boxing Day.
Yes, I think it's a tough game. I think they've got a very good home record. So from the outset, I think a point would be fantastic. But I would like to see us start the game like we started against Fleetwood and against Grimsby. Sort of regardless of venue, just get out there and try and repeat what you've done in those games. Every game in this league is winnable, even against your Warsaw's and Port Vales. And what you've got there, and obviously Bromley afterwards, another trip to kind of Greater London. I don't know much about Bromley, but I'm looking forward to going there. And I think if we could get 3 points from the next 2, I think that would be a good haul. And if I had to choose 3 points at Bromley, just because try and drag them back down into the mix with us, I think that would put us 4 points behind them if we beat them. So we'll see.
Darren, let me take you back in time. I don't know if you probably would. I don't know if you probably wouldn't remember this. Anyway, the 20th of the 11th, 1976, the FA Cup first round. Swindon Town 7, Bromley 0. McHale on 25. The great and late Dave Syra on 63 and 77. David Moss 66 and 89. And Trevor Anderson, what a player, on 72 and 87. Half-time 1-0, 6,497 witnessed that game. I was there, but I can't remember it. You're not old enough, are you, Darren?
I am old enough, but I don't remember it.
No.
So that'll definitely be one that would be in Dad's memory bank rather than mine. No, I think it's going to be. I think this is a tough period. I mean, as I said earlier, I think it's a tough period anyway. It doesn't matter, who you're playing. It's always difficult over this period. Who travels well? What your preparation is like. Diet can go out the window, can't it? So there's all of those aspects that can play into it, which creates uncertainty. I quite like the idea of going away on Boxing Day. I think it gives you more controllable measures in many ways. So, but I do think it's tough. 3 away games in 4 it can create pressure, and Wimbledon don't draw many games, so they'll go for it. So I think it'll be an open game. And then in terms of Bromley, they're the other way around. They're not winning that many games, but they're difficult to beat. Mm-hmm. So I think if we're going to get 3 points, I think Boxing Day is probably going to be our best chance, is the truth of
it. Beck, what do you reckon? It is a busy old time. Football fans love it because there's a lot of games, but for players, of course, there's a lot of stress on them. So what do you reckon?
To be honest, Beck, I think it's a bit like I said earlier. There's a lot of potential changes that Holloway can make, and I think actually that's a bit double-edged sword, really. If he makes too many changes from Saturday, I think you could just find actually, things don't go as well. I'd like to think we can get a win Saturday, capitalise on how from Saturday, to capitalise how we were on Saturday. But to be honest, at this moment in time, I'd take a draw. 100%, I'd take a draw on both games. I do think a lot of it is actually down to whoever it is that he decides to play on the day, how much time those 11 have spent together, because that does seem to be the thing. He does seem to kind of mix things about. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I guess the Christmas period is as good a time as any to test that out. You've got a lot of games and quite a lot of pressure as well. So yeah, I'd take a draw. Absolutely take a draw.
Yeah, I think we all would. Not only on players, of course, on commentators as well, Mr. Hawes. How's your Christmas day? Is it spent sitting at statistics and all that kind of stuff?
I shall probably give myself a day off from that, but I shall be swatting up on Wimbledon tomorrow. But trust me, we're not worth wasting sympathy on. I'm ready for football by Boxing Day. Lots of free football for us. I just have to talk a bit, so it's no sacrifice at all.
No, what do you think then? It's a difficult one. I think he said on Saturday the away form needs picking up, doesn't it? The home form, fingers crossed. 2 wins in a row, that's great. But the away form, you need to get points on the road.
Yeah, no. Wimbledon does look difficult. I think they're pretty good at creating chances, and they're pretty good at not giving up chances. So those are two good signs for them. I think definitely if we can avoid defeat there, that is a step forward. Even if we do something sort of Bradford-esque, as it were, to get there, as long as we get something for that. Bromley seemed quite interesting. I don't know that much about them, but I was able to watch them play Walsall, and they looked quite physical, but they looked like they were quite attacking but open. So Swindon might be able to get them. So I'm hoping that will actually be quite an entertaining game. But it is just about kind of generating some sort of momentum. So if what Dan said, 3 points from the 2 wouldn't be bad. You would think that would be enough to keep us going above. Good old Carlisle, who not only have they got Morecambe on Boxing Day, but they've got Accrington on that when we're playing Bromley. So all good fun and games down the bottom there.
Have we all seen the film The Bromley Boys?
Yeah.
Which is a cracking film. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's when Bromley basically had about 4 supporters. Ray, you've seen it?
I have seen it. Yeah. Focuses on a young lad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the only one. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a fabulous film because it just goes to show what it means to be a football supporter, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But no, anybody else? No. Don't become a film reviewer, Ray. That's all I can say. That's it.
Sorry. Yeah, I was leaving a space for others, but it was only me.
3 stars.
Yeah. No, it's a very good film. If you get a chance to watch it, I recommend it. It's a really good watch, and it'll resonate with many of you if you get a chance to watch it. Right. There we go. This is all right. I'm going to ask you your plans now, Dan, because we're coming towards the end. And this is from Steve. Nice to see Ivo and Stu and Stunt Peg on Saturday. Early days, Dan. But what's next for the Spirit of 69?
Christmas rest, definitely. I think Terry's managed to get himself ill by not wearing enough clothes on Saturday. I'm feeling tired, if I'm honest. It's been a hectic month, but no, I think in the new year we will get going again, and we have plans afoot for another day of action on the 8th of February when we have a home game against Port Vale. Sky Sports Plus cameras are in town. It's a 12:30 kickoff, so keep your eyes and ears peeled as we work out the logistics of what we're going to do that day. So I'll keep you hanging for now. But yeah, beyond that, we have kind of a roadmap of plans ahead, and a few sort of divergent options depending on how the seasons go, or what chess moves Clem Morfuni makes.
If the call comes to say, look, we'll talk to you, we'll have a chat, what do you do?
Well, as I said earlier, when we're invited to chat, we'll consider that invite, no problem. But just quickly, whilst we're on Spirit of 69 again, we've had quite a lot of comments come in today about respect and kindness online and on social media. I do hope those aren't aimed at myself, Terry, or Rich, and the Spirit of 69. I'd like to think we've led a very respectful, honest and open and happy campaign over the last month. And actually, on the flip side, there are some people, albeit a small pocket of the same people, and Facebook seems to be rife for this as well. You know, people are really quite horrible towards us. But hey, you know, it goes both ways. Respect, and we'd always ask every party to be respectful to each other. We are all Swindon fans. We all want the same thing, which is Swindon to do well. The avenue we're taking it down is giving people a channel to sort of put their anger across and get their views across. So, yeah.
I spoke to you about this on Friday. There was one comment which annoyed me, because that was a Hall of Fame one where it was said that the club deliberately said that Austin couldn't be included Charlie Austin couldn't be included on the Hall of Fame, which is not true. Nothing to do with the football club. The reason he's not included in the Hall of Fame yet is he's still playing. And of course, when he's not playing, he will be included in the Hall of Fame without any question at all. So I wanted to clear that up. And the football club had nothing to do with who is in the Hall of Fame. That is entirely up to a panel, including myself, of the museum trustees. So that I'd like to clear up once and for all. Nothing to do with any pressure from the football club. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's wish everybody a happy Christmas, a peaceful Christmas. I'm guessing that actually for the next 2 days, can we all forget about football and just concentrate on whatever we're doing? And if we wanted to enjoy ourselves watching a football match, I recommend Tottenham Hotspur 3, Liverpool 6, which was like one of the most bonkers football matches you could ever wish to see yesterday, and thoroughly enjoyable. Ray, Dan, Darren, Beck, Andrew, I wish you all the very best for the season, and have a lovely couple of days. And we'll reconvene next week when we'll talk about memories. Memories is what we're going to do on the sofa next week. Your footballing memories of Swindon Town, be they good, bad, or indifferent. And Mr. Cousins has a program for us.
Yeah, let's finish on a positive note. This is a program from a season you might remember, 1985-86.
Quite decent.
January the 1st, and it's home to Colchester. Read into that what you may. There was a 2-1 victory by Swindon. David Cole and Brian Wade scored that day. And it was a start of something rather big, wasn't it, Vic?
It was, yeah. We lost at Tranmere over Christmas. I think that was the last defeat of the season. So,
yeah.
Was Tranmere after that? I can't remember. But anyway, Tranmere was the last defeat of the entire season, and we went through and got 102 points. Extraordinary. Yes.
Just saying. Thank you ever so much for all of you attending. Have a fantastic Christmas, everybody, all of you out there. And I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. We do it again. Okay. Thank you ever so much and good night.
Cheers all. Merry Christmas.
Yes,
Merry
Enjoy.
Christmas.